everyone, you got Loralyn here. We are focused on our weekly grind, our virtual coffee chat. Now, it's not quite the level of, we've got Tom Capone as our guest, who is the founder of NYDLA, New York Distance Learning Association, also North American Distance Learning Association. But why he's on the Future of Work weekly grind is because he's really looking at it that it's distance learning. It goes so much beyond just digital and where we are. So he's got a vision that way. Anyway, he's got this Coffee in the Clouds vodcast, which is wonderful. And so we're really excited because he's got tremendous authors and people that he brings to the table. So we're glad to kind of turn things around and have him on our show. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how are you doing?
Well, I want to make sure that you get the chance to give folks an update in your own words about all the exciting things that you guys have got going on at NYDLA.
Sure. Well, there's a couple things. I mean, this has been percolating since 1983, pre-internet. And originally it was New York Metro, like as in New York City, which then expanded to the New York megapolis, which is the, old Bell Atlantic corridor, right? From Maine to Virginia, that's what, Well, now, because of the pandemic, we've expanded to North America. And that was really like, well, what if Jerry Seinfeld is wrong? What if New York doesn't bounce back? So that has been the journey that we've been on, but distance learning, morphed into digital learning, yeah, but man, it's just digital living because, it's telemedicine, it's e-commerce, it's cybersecurity, it's the future of work, it's living, learning, working, playing, teaching, training, coaching, mentoring in the global cloud economy. And if I had a nickel for every time I said that, I'd have a lot of nickels.
And it's amazing you can do it without even like stumbling over the words. It's a lot of alliteration too. I'd be like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're now, especially as we're in theory coming out of COVID, even though we're not fully home yet, but I mean, everybody's rethinking everything. They're rethinking, are we going to go back to the office? Are we going to go back to campus? The folks that are saying, we're all going to work from home. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Okay. Or we're all going back to the office. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Right. It just seems like everything's going to be a hybrid. Everything is going to be, something in the middle. And I think that is the new reality that we have is it doesn't matter whether you're working for a Fortune company or a startup or, it doesn't matter. I think everybody is going through their own personal, do I really want to do this anymore? Or did I pick the right career? Or, they just went through 2 years of theoretical stress and pain and suffering and, rethinking their decisions, their career decisions, their every decision, right? So I think that is what the Great Resignation, as they call it, is really all about. That people are just, do I really want to go back to that cubicle? Right? Or, is the career path that I thought I was on the right one for me? So it's in the same token that it's stressful. It also creates tremendous opportunities for entities, companies that can help people to navigate this new world and to figure things out and, to try to make good decisions on, what do they want to do for the future. And it doesn't matter whether you're a teenager or, you're in your 60s or your 70s, or it doesn't matter how age has nothing to do with it. It's like, what do you want to do? It's almost like defend your position, right? It's like articulate. Tell me what you want to, tell me why, what's going on in your head that's making you feel the way you're feeling or making you make the decisions, that you're currently making.
And I heard it called the Great Reshuffling, which I really liked. And I don't know who originated that term, but that's what it's all about. People are reshuffling their priorities. Now, of course, this is creating consternation on the sides of the employers
Yeah.
as well as the employees who are trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do next? But then the employers are sort of hanging in the balance going, well, okay, well, you're trying to figure that out. We're trying to plan supply chain, operations, staffing, and they're having a really hard time too.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it has to do with quality of life. A lot of it has to do with, I mean, money at some point always comes into the conversation. But what I'm amazed at is, I mean, I know lots of people that are making high six-figure incomes at big companies, stable, household brand companies that are going, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. I mean, I don't know if I want to go back to that cubicle. And they're not wealthy. I mean, it's not like they hit the lottery or anything. I mean, they have to work somewhere. Okay. But it's amazing that they're willing to walk away without a replacement job. I mean, they don't have a replacement. They're like, I'm just not going back to that desk, and I'll figure something out. To me, that's the most shocking thing, that I could see wanting to trade up. I could see wanting to, but to not have a replace, you still have a mortgage, you still have bills to pay. I mean, that's the thing that was not done. I mean, all my life that people say, well, don't leave until you got something lined up, right? Don't quit your job unless you got a guarantee, right? Don't. And people are now doing it going, I don't care. I don't care. People with responsibilities, people with mortgages, and that, I think, is the most shocking thing of the reality of the current, economy.
And what do you think, or what have you heard of, Tom, where companies are trying to offer new initiatives or support to try to be able to, well, enable their employees to really figure out what it is that they want to do and be able to support them if they need help? Like, what kinds of things have you heard?
Well, the entities that are doing it right, the entities that are truly figured it out, it's a people first world. Okay. Quality of life, family first, people before profits. I mean, and there are many companies out there that truly, they are getting it right. And they're realizing that you get a tenfold return. The old way of thinking, squeezing every last ounce of blood out of an employee, and, the time card. No, I mean, if you have fully formed adults, as I like to say, right? If you have people that are working, they want autonomy, they want sense of purpose, they want to feel like they're making a difference. Okay. If you empower them and give them the ability to produce the value that is within them, okay, everybody wins. The customer wins, the corporation wins, the individual wins, the atmosphere of the company. I mean, it's one of these, like, it's hiding in plain sight, right? It's one of these most obvious things that nobody is like, oh my God, if you treat people better, you make more money. It's like, who would have thunk it? But it's now starting to become much more of a movement where, if you put your people first, they'll take care of the customers. If you put your people first, they'll take care of the business. They'll take, they will protect their home, right? If they have an attitude where, like, well, this is my home, this is, I'm part of this. Well, then you can have exponential growth, and then you can get into some real exciting things where you can be creative and you can use imagination and you can allow people to have safety and go make some mistakes. It's like, how many mistakes did you make today? That's not enough. Okay. Go make some more mistakes. Okay. Learn from them. Tell us all what you did so that we can all learn. That, I think, is maybe that'll be the thing that we get out of this whole pandemic, that we can look back on in years going, that was the benefit. That was good, that it forced people to rethink corporate culture and put people first, right? The companies that are trying to force people to go back to an office are like, they're not going to go. And they're going to lose those people to their competitor. I mean, the big thing that's happening right now is if somebody's offering remote, right? And you're not, well, they're going to grab your best talent. I mean, it's almost like, wow, right? Did you really have to think that hard about that? Who wants to commute for an hour? What, to go into an office because what, they have a foosball? I mean, what? I don't need to be here. Okay. But yeah, it's an amazing time. We're on Zoom right now. I mean, Zoom became a verb before the pandemic. Well, during and now, I mean, it changed everything. I mean, you could be on WebEx and people say, yeah, let's do a Zoom meeting. Yeah, but you're on WebEx. Oh, yeah. Whatever. It's like it's the concept. It's this concept of the way that we're going to work. Telemedicine. I mean, we've been promising telemedicine since the 1964 World's Fair. Okay, it took a pandemic for it to finally, to be forced. It was well, now it's a thing, right? Now it's common sense and it was commonplace, and it became accepted. But I think the word of the day is always going to be hybrid. It's like, if you force people to do something, they will rebel just because you forced them. They'll rebel to the most ridiculous things where it's actually good for you. They don't want to be forced. People want to feel a sense of autonomy and a sense of independence. They want to make decisions, smart decisions, good decisions. And I think that's really the leader's job and the business's job, is to empower them. You're not going to get somebody who is very happy being a cashier to run the store. It's like, no, right? But they're really good and they're affable and people love talking to that. Yeah, they're your ambassador for the store. They're actually quite an asset. Yeah, but don't expect them to become the general manager. They don't want to be the general manager of the store. They're your brand ambassador with a smile. Very valuable. Okay. But I think that is all part of what we're dealing with right now, that, people have to do some self-reflection and go, what do you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's like, do you know why? Do you know why you're attracted to that? Do you know what is it that has grabbed your attention and makes you feel like, that would be cool. That would, and I would do that, and I would be happy at it. I'd like to get paid. I got bills to pay, right? So but for people to do it where money is not the main motivator. And going back full circle, I go, that's what we're living with right now, is where, I'm old. I used to say there is no problem that I have that I can't fix with a checkbook. Because if I could fix it with a checkbook, it's not a problem. It's like, I just got to buy it. I got to, I can buy my way out of this. Can't do it now. You can't, because money is not enough of a motivation to get somebody to take the job or to relocate. I mean, it was only a couple of years ago where it's like, you gotta move. It's like, well, I don't want to move. It's like, there's an extra 50 grand in it. It's like, get Mayflower, we're out of here. That's just not the current reality.
Purpose is the new currency.
That's right. That's exactly
and
right.
That's the whole thing. And even to your point, if that cashier wants to become the general manager, then the employer should provision access to the tools and whatever that cashier needs to develop and grow into the manager. Especially now, so many states are offering the $500 training credits.
Yes.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't think all the states, but a lot of them are.
Well, again, that's a lot of the older thinking that you can fix this with money and you can fix this with incentives, etc. To some degree, you can. But the cachet of the bonus check wears off fast, after you spent it. If somebody gave you a bonus to do something and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, you spent that. And now you still have the same issue, right? It's like, so yes, money is part of it, but it's the passion. It's, do you feel good about what you do? Are you making a difference? Are you proud? Or do you have pride in your work? Do you think your kids would be proud of what you do? Or when the grandkids hear stories about grandpa and grandma, will you be happy of the stories that's the stuff that is really front and center in the world today.
And you bring up a good point there where you're talking about sort of like that professionalism, that pride. Which soft skill, Tom, do you think is the one? Well, which one do you wish people had more of?
Okay. The biggest deficit that I see in people of any age, okay, is, it's like the old fear of public speaking or fear of taking initiative, fear of making mistakes, etc. There's an old joke about, some people would rather be in the casket than give the eulogy. It's like public speaking, the ability to communicate, the ability to express yourself, especially now that we're using technology so much, right? That is the biggest thing, because people want to buy from people. They don't want to buy from an algorithm. They don't want to do business with a robot. Okay. I mean, it's evident by the stores that have the the self-checkout, right? I never use it. I don't want to use it. I mean, even if I went in to just buy a pack of batteries, I'll stand in line. There's something about it. Like, I don't want to use automation for everything in my life. Okay. So it's the relationships. It's the fact that you're going to, people want to do business with people that they like, people that they trust, people that they would be proud of having a relationship with. Okay. So the soft skills that need to be worked on are your ability to communicate, your ability to collaborate, your ability to, share your thoughts without fear, without feeling embarrassment. Okay. And that's hard if you're not. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that I love public speaking, I mean, give me the microphone. If I don't get the microphone, I'm embarrassed. I'm insulted, It's like, why am I here if I'm not going to speak, But there's others that they don't want to be on the front line. They really don't. Well, sometimes we just don't have that luxury of not being, in the front line. Okay. So I think if we can help people to communicate, collaborate, express themselves, they have a voice, right? Use your voice. And I'm not talking just vocal cords. I'm like, what's your opinion? What are your thoughts? What do you bring to the table? What's your body of work? What's your experience? What can you contribute to this conversation? What can you contribute to this project? Right? Has anybody ever seen this before? Has anybody ever experienced? That's the value. Okay. But we have to have a culture that embraces that and that actually nurtures and grows that. Okay. Because, but if you have that, if you could do, well, then you are head and shoulders above those who do not. Okay. Because like I said, people don't want to do business with robots, and they don't want to do business with algorithms. Okay. We're still tribal. We're still people doing business with people. Okay. Even on a recorded Zoom like this. Well, it was live at some point. Right. It's live now, live events. Yeah. We love to have 50 people live in the room. Yeah. Well, there's 5,000 people live, but virtually. And then there could be 5 million people that watch the archive like a TED Talk. Right? Yeah. Sometimes you can't make the meeting. Sometimes, but giving people choices, do you want to be in listen only mode? Do you want to raise your hand? Do you want to interject? It's like give them the micro here, give, like a town hall. It's like, you would like to say something, give people that choice. Okay. So as far as that goes, there's other soft skills that are also important, but the ability for somebody to recognize that they have a voice, that's what they're being paid for, and I have a good friend, Lee Cockrell, who ran Disney World. He's famous for, having 40,000 employees, right? And he said, when his first interview with his boss, he goes, how much of my salary is for my opinion? Kind of cool, right? He goes, a lot. He goes, good. Now I know. Now you're gonna hear from me, right? It's like, do you want my opinion? How much of my salary is for my opinion? There's a soundbite for you, right? Really, you would love to have people feel comfortable in their own skin enough to go, oh, could you say that? Do you feel safe enough to say that to your manager, your superior? Okay, because if you do, you're probably on the right track. Okay. And if you don't, that's where you got to work. That's what you have to work on. Okay. Because otherwise, what's the difference between you and the automated checkout? Exactly. I mean, right?
Not a robot, be a human. Think your opinion's valued. We respect it. We want it. We seek it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Same guy, Lee Cockrell, gives me the quote, hire right, train them right, treat them right. How simple, right? Yeah, you got to hire right. I mean, you can't just pick them off the street. Like, it's like, especially Disney, who had tremendous resources. You might get interviewed 20 times and before they just, okay, you've passed the audition, right? Okay, train them right. Did you train them? Did you give them the tools? Did you give them what they need to actually be successful, right? Did you give the carpenter his saw? Right? Do you have the tools that you need to be successful? And then you treat them, right? My job, I feel, is I need to make this be like the best place you could possibly work. But if you find someplace better, you should go. And maybe you should take me with you. Okay? Because literally, if you leave, well, then you should have left. And that's cool. Okay, because then you truly have found something better, and life is short. And it's so short that it's like you found something better. God bless you. Okay, stay in touch, right? I want to be on the Christmas card list, please, right? That stay. But I'd go, what did you find better? Because then I got to start thinking like, well, why were we not able to create the environment to keep that person, because we invested a lot of time and money in that person. Okay. And for them to now want to go elsewhere, it's like, okay. I have a great example. I had someone that's been with me for many, many, many years, but he was classified as a independent contractor, and it was fine. Right. It's like he didn't, but his wife became pregnant and he needed lots of medical benefit. Okay. So he actually needed to be getting like a real job with real benefit. That's a great reason to leave. That's one of the best I could, because he didn't live in the United States. He lived elsewhere too. So that was the other factor. Right. So he needed his in-country coverage as a citizen of that country, which meant he had to have a job in that country. Okay. He actually took a cut in pay, but he had, but I go, okay, that's the way you leave. I go, my God, God bless you. Right. But I'm already thinking like, does the kid have a bassinet? What? Yeah. Cause I still love them. Right. They're still my people, but that would be like, that's a good reason to leave. That's a great reason to leave. Right. That's okay. But for somebody to just leave, it was like, well, why? What are you leaving for? We have to really think about that. We got to go, well, this sounds like something might be broken. We might have to start thinking like, why did our culture allow someone who's been here this long to leave? And if it's a personal reason, that's fine. Okay. But there should not be musical chairs, and that's, as a business owner, you've invested time and money. You're reminds me of movies like Top Gun, or Officer and a Gentleman. Again, dating myself, right? But when they talk about, we invested $1 million in training this pilot to be the pilot of a $100 million piece of equipment. We don't want him to leave. Right? I mean, it's kind of like we got an investment here. That's a little bit of the mentality that I think would be the most wholesome. Is my job is you can leave anytime you want, but why would you?
Right, try to make it good enough for them to stay and learn from them. But we're almost out of time, so we're just going to wrap up with one last quick question. I want you to fill in the blank, Tom. The world needs more
passionate people.
Excellent. Anything else that you want to say? Closing comments?
Well, again, we would love to have folks listening to this join our association, and if you reference, STEERus, etc., I'd love to gift you, with a membership. Okay, because we are all about living, learning, working, playing, teaching, training, coaching, mentoring in the global cloud economy.
It makes my eyes roll every time I hear it. Like, it's so perfect, but like I would slaughter it trying to recreate it and restate it.
Okay.
So, all right.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was fantastic.
Well, thank you for that. So again, thanks to Tom Capone here, the founder of NYDLA, who's really talking about this whole digital living experience and making it possible by forming relationships and alliances with all of the big names and brands and things that you've heard of and the household names, bringing it together in a way so that we can, as members of NYDLA, enjoy the benefits and be able to build a network, a professional learning community that Tom and his team are spearheading. So thank you, Tom.
Very good. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.